In this video, we will talk about a relatively recent discovery made in Lake Vostok, located in Antarctica. It is the deepest lake in the world. In it, Russian researchers found shocking things, and some people speculate that it may even be about aliens. Whether you believe in aliens or not, this is one fascinating story you wouldn't want to miss. If you like what we do, you can support us by sharing the video with friends and subscribing to the channel. The Soviet Union has long been fascinated by UFO sightings and the study of extraterrestrial life theories. In line with this trend, the Soviet government began exploring Lake Vostok, the largest subglacial lake on Earth and the sixth largest freshwater lake on the planet. Researchers are making some fascinating discoveries about Lake Vostok in Antarctica. Do these theories include evidence for the existence of aliens? A team of scientists from Russia and New Zealand spent 20 days probing the lake in Antarctica as part of a project funded by the US, Norway, and New Zealand. The team's goal is to explore one of the most isolated places on Earth to learn more about its unique ecosystem. There were many fears that drilling in Lake Vostok would disturb its delicate balance, but these concerns did not stop scientists from continuing their research goals. What are conditions like in Lake Vostok? Lake Vostok is located under 4 kilometers of ice. The water in this subglacial lake has been under frozen ice for millions of years. It is located at the South Pole in Antarctica and is about 250 kilometers long and 50 kilometers wide. The southern part of the lake has deeper waters with an average depth of about 800 to 1,050 meters. The northern part is shallower, with depths of about 300 to 450 meters, and with a hilly relief at the bottom. The water in the lake has a temperature of about -3 degrees Celsius. The place is extremely cold, and there is not much sunlight. This means that the lake is covered with ice all year long. How it all begins. The first scientific publication about the lake was made by academician Andrei Petrovich Kapitska in 1994 at a conference of the Scientific Committee for Antarctic Research, SCAR, in Rome. The following is a scientific publication from 1995 in the journal Nature by an international team of scientists. There is talk and proposals for drilling to begin paleoclimatic research, i.e., studies of the Earth's ancient climate. Through complex seismic and radar studies, scientists have created a map of the bottom of the subglacial lake. The details are described in the Proceedings of the Academies of Sciences No. 5, Volume 433 from 2010. The techniques were specifically developed and involved the detonation of detonating cords capable of echolocation even through the 100-meter snow cover above the lake's ice cover. A detailed map was drawn up, and that too through direct observations. Interest in the discovery has been expressed by scientists from around the world, including NASA. NASA's interest is related to the proximity of conditions in the lake to those of Jupiter's moon Europa. After all, the lake can turn out to be full of surprises. Fears have been expressed that dangerous microorganisms might appear from its bottom, which developed for 500,000 years under the 4-kilometer ice. In 1998, when only 130 meters remained of the relict waters of the lake, drilling was stopped. The international community is asking scientists not to penetrate the aquifer until special technology is developed to minimize the possibility of contamination. At a meeting of the SCAR, Scientific Council for Antarctic Research, it was decided to develop an environmentally friendly way of penetration. The new technology is a real breakthrough in the field of deep drilling. A biologically sterile lavage fluid and safe transport methods are established. To avoid contamination, specialists use a special compound to lubricate and maintain hydrostatic pressure in the well, which does not dissolve in water and can later be isolated. In 2003, the international community agreed with the measures taken, and after an 8-year hiatus, drilling resumed. July 2012, the breakthrough in the drilling process. After 30 years of drilling, the Russian engineering team reached the mysterious lake and took samples of its waters. The comments in the world's scientific circles are that the penetration into the pristine Lake Vostok, 4 kilometers under the ice, in terms of its importance, is equal to the stepping of a man on the moon. The drilling process was expected to take up to 9 months, but the team managed it in just 20 days. A new drilling technique is being used in Lake Vostok. the team did not use the typical process method that other researchers have used in the past. In the usual method, researchers sink a borehole into a body of water to collect samples from the bottom of the lake. Instead, here the team used a liquid freezing technique to collect samples from the lake. Once they have made a hole in the ice large enough for the equipment to pass through, the process of collecting samples begins. Lake Vostok is full of strange organisms and chemical byproducts. The results of the analysis of the samples taken were reported at the ENA 2012 Astrobiology Conference in Stockholm. Only 10 bacteria per milliliter were found, and genetic analysis showed that 3 of them got there as a result of probing. It is necessary to obtain complete specimens. This necessitated a second attempt. The team used the same borehole to a depth of 3,400 meters, then drilled a spur. This time, the engineers were extremely careful and were sure that the samples contained only water from the lake. Twice the probe broke due to changes in the macrostructure of the ice. In 2015, they reached the surface of the lake at a depth of 3,760 meters and managed to take 2 samples. After specialized drilling rigs pulled up the smooth, milky white chunks called ice cores, teams collected them in protective tubes, archived and transported them to laboratories of the St. Petersburg Institute of Nuclear Physics and many other laboratories around the world to perform gas, isotropic, and biological analyses in search of evidence of Earth's past thousands of years ago. Researchers discovered organisms at the bottom of the lake that are unlike anything found before. Organic molecules and mineral deposits have also been found, which also do not match anything previously found on Earth. These results suggest that Lake Vostok is a unique ecosystem. The researchers found no evidence that the lake was ever exposed to the outside world. There is no indication that the lake ever thawed completely. No indication has been found that any life form was able to leave the lake and colonize the rest of the planet. Researchers proved that the lake was isolated for millions of years. The Russians are discovering some shocking things about Lake Vostok. The researchers found an unusual amount of hydrogen and carbon in the water sample they took from the bottom of the lake. This suggests that organisms living in Lake Vostok may be metabolizing carbon and hydrogen at much faster rates than organisms elsewhere on the planet. This is a very unusual discovery and raises many questions about the ecosystem. A high concentration of methane was also found in the lake. This methane is thought to be produced by a type of bacteria called methanogens. This is another unusual discovery for this particular body of water. The existence of life in the extreme conditions in the waters of Vostok can prove the possibility of existence and life on planets with similar ones. Therefore, the success of the Russian project is of particular interest to astrobiologists who study the origin of life and its possible spread throughout the universe. Conditions in the mysterious lake closely resemble those of Jupiter's ice-covered moon, Europa. The question of aliens. During the drilling, scientists collected samples from the bottom of the lake that included organic matter. This is the reason why the team appeared on the front pages of the newspapers. The researchers found an unusual amount of silicon, which is often associated with the presence of extraterrestrial life. However, scientists don't have a specific explanation for what the silicon is doing there. The discovery of organic matter is not the most surprising part of the project. Even more interesting is the fact that the organic samples were fossilized. This means the matter has been there for a very long time. Apparently, an ecosystem existed in the lake without a source of oxygen. It is hard to imagine how such an ecosystem could exist without a significant source of energy. It is also curious what could have caused organic matter to fossilize so quickly. On the other hand, the researchers did not find any evidence of extraterrestrial life in Lake Vostok. But they did find something no less interesting. There is a possibility that silicon is not associated with organisms from Earth. It is possible that it was deposited in the lake a long time ago. This suggests that Lake Vostok may have been contaminated with organisms from space long before humans discovered it. Could aliens have been discovered? Still, for lovers of this theory, let's ask the question once more. Researchers have proposed several different explanations for the organic matter found at the bottom of Lake Vostok. One of the most popular theories is that it was left by microbes that lived in the lake millions of years ago when there was no oxygen in it. Other scientists believe that the organic matter came from organisms that lived there before it was covered by an ice sheet. There is a natural theory that the samples of organic matter were left behind by extraterrestrial visitors. Some people think that aliens may have visited the lake millions of years ago, which would explain why samples of this matter are fossilized. In fact, the truth is that officially, researchers haven't even looked for signs of extraterrestrial life. They were simply exploring one of the most isolated ecosystems on Earth, and during the exploration, they discovered many strange things. While these findings do not prove the existence of aliens, they could prove even more exciting if life is discovered in Lake Vostok.
But there's much more to it.
According to many, the secrets of this strange continent hold the key to humanity's past and future. Cold, remote, and inhospitable, with the area the size of the US and half of Canada combined, it is one of the Earth's greatest mysteries. It is the coldest continent on our planet, with an average temperature of -55 Celsius, and is the place with the least rainfall. But its winds reach a speed of 327 kilometers per hour. The first explorers came to the icy continent about 200 years ago in search of whales, and since then, Antarctica has become the world's greatest treasure troves of knowledge, some made public, some of them not. Antarctica is the only continent that does not have a permanent population. At any given time, however, 1,000 to 5,000 people from dozens of countries reside on it. They inhabit stations scattered across the continent and are usually tasked with conducting research in various fields of science. These stations used to be just wooden shacks. Today's bases, however, are proud representatives of peculiar Antarctic architectural style. In this video, we will share with you some of the most shocking events, revelations, incidents, and conspiracy theories on the continent. Satellite images have located two large inlets extending beneath the surface of Antarctica and the sea ice off the coast. Russian scientists set out to investigate them and discovered the remains of what they believe to be a secret Nazi base built in 1942. It's located on the island of Alexandria Land. Researchers found over 500 artifacts such as ammunition, fuel tanks, and documents. This, of course, immediately gives fodder to conspiracy theorists who have claimed for decades that Nazis had secret bases in Antarctica to develop superpowers with alien technology, or that even Adolf Hitler hid there after the war. According to one such theory, the Nazis sent a large team of scientists, soldiers, and construction workers to Antarctica in 1938. The destination was Queen Maud Land, where they were rumored to have discovered a vast network of warm underground rivers and caves. In the largest of them, the Nazis built Base 211, also known as New Berlin. In addition to the scientists working on the mysterious superweapon, there are also mentions of several secret societies having access to these dungeons, including the Freemasons and the Illuminati. Some even claim that the base is still active today, and secret societies are still waiting for the right moment to establish the so-called New World Order. Scott's expedition to the South Pole. British explorer Robert Falcon Scott's team reached the South Pole on January 17, 1912, just 3 weeks after the Norwegian team led by Ronald Amstad had left the site. The British group's spirits were broken when they realized they weren't the first to arrive. Very soon, however, things took on an even more catastrophic appearance. Reaching the pole is a feat and test of human endurance, and Scott was under enormous pressure from the start. Besides battling the challenges of harsh climate and lack of natural resources like firewood, he had a team of more than 60 men to lead. Even more, pressure came from high hopes placed on him by the colleagues back home. They want to do it or die. That's the spirit with they go to Antarctica, declared Leonard Darwin, president of the Royal Geographical Society and son of Charles Darwin, in a speech at the time. Captain Scott will prove once more the manliness of the nation is not dead. Adventures like this certainly raise the self-esteem of the whole nation, he said. Scott himself was not immune to expectations. He had a very human character, says Max Jones, an historian of popular exploration at the University of Manchester. In his diaries, we found that he was plagued by doubts and worries about whether he was up to task, and shows how down to earth he was, a man like any other with his faults and weaknesses. Despite concerns and doubts, the do-or-die mindset led the team to risks that now seem foreign or unacceptable to us. On the way back from the pole in February, Edgar Evans passed away first. Next up was Lawrence Oates. He considered himself a burden, thinking the team couldn't go home with him because he weighed them down. "I'm just going out and I might be gone for a while," he says, March 17th. At the time, he most likely didn't realize how close to death the rest of the group was as well. The bodies of Oates and Evans were never found, but Scott's, Edward Wilson's, and Henry Bowser's were found by a rescue party several months after their deaths. They died on 29th of March, 1912, according to the dates of Scott's diary entry. The searchers covered their bodies with snow and left them where they were found. "I don't think human beings ever went through the month we did," Scott wrote in his final pages of his journal. The team knows they're about 18 kilometers from the last cache of life-saving supplies that will save them. But they were confined to a tent for days, pressed by a fierce blizzard. They were willing to risk their lives. You can see it as part of their thought of imperial masculinity about enduring hardships and hostile environment, Jones commented. "I'm not saying they had a death wish, but I think they were ready to die." UFO crash. Since the continent is relatively isolated from anyone who wants to be inconspicuous, this is the perfect place. Valentin Degtyarev claims to have discovered a UFO on the icy continent via Google Earth. The image uploaded there shows what appears to be 4 tanks, and Degtyarev speculates that it's an alien spacecraft that was landed there or was forced down, guarded by 4 tanks. In the photo, what is supposed to be a UFO is just a small figure sticking out of the ice, and conspiracy theorists say it's the shape of a disc about 200 feet across. Operation High Jump. The action takes place in 1947 when about 100 ships from the German Navy, as well as high-ranking representatives of the SS, disappear without a trace. It's not clear if they hid or something else happened to them. However, a conspiracy theory links this to another event that took place the same year in 1947. American Admiral Richard E. Byrd led about 4,000 soldiers and aircraft carriers and submarines, etc., in the operation called High Jump, which essentially aimed to invade Antarctica. After 2 months, the operation was called off, allegedly due to numerous deaths due to inhumane conditions. Still, conspiracy theorists believe that this was just an excuse that the soldiers were well prepared and trained. They claim that the admiral actually encountered strong resistance from the Nazi flying saucers, end quotes. Most controversial was the admiral's statement to a Chilean newspaper in which he warned that the United States must take measures to protect against the possibility of an invasion of the country by enemy aircraft coming from the polar regions. The admiral explained that he doesn't want to scare anyone, but there is a real danger that in the event of another war, the United States will be attacked by planes coming from one or both poles. "I must warn my fellow citizens that the time has come when we could take refuge in our isolation because we felt that we were at a safe distance, protected from danger by the surrounding oceans and geographical distances. The poles are no longer a guarantee of our safety," Byrd said at the time. August 1982, Ambrose Morgan, Kevin Ockleton, and John Cole, 3 men embarked on an expedition to a nearby island in the middle of the Antarctic winter. The sea ice is hard, and they reach Peterman Island easily. The aurora borealis is visible in the sky, usually bright and strong, and just enough to disrupt communications. The team managed to reach the island safely and spent the night in a beach hut. Soon after, however, a major storm completely destroys the sea ice. The group remains stranded, but this does not bother them, as there's enough food in the lodge to last the 3 of them for over a month. Over the next few days, the sea ice fails to solidify as the storm continues. There are no books or newspapers in the lodge, and contact with the outside world is limited to scheduled radio transmissions to the base. 2 weeks soon pass. Transmissions are short as the batteries in their radios are getting low. Team is getting already restless. Penguins appear and circle the hut. They may look cute, but their smell soon drives men crazy. Things are starting to get worse. The group gets diarrhea, as some of the food in the lodge turns out to be much older than they thought. The smell of penguins doesn't make them feel better. They kill and eat several to increase their supplies. The men wait with growing impatience, complaining of boredom on radio transmissions to the base. On Friday, August 13, 1982, they were seen through a telescope waving at the main base. The radio batteries are exhausted. The sea ice has morphed again, giving hope of escape. 2 days later, on Sunday, August 15th, the group did not establish contact with the base at the appointed time. Then comes another big storm. The men at the base climb to a high point where they can see the island. All the sea ice is gone again due to the storm. The 3 men were never seen or found again. These deaths have led to changes in the way people work in Antarctica. As a result, they live and work more safely there today. Although terrible incidents still occur on this hostile continent, many lessons have been learned from earlier tragedies.
Yet if we trace the past, a controversial theory emerges, one that says,
millennia ago, an advanced race sought refuge beneath the Earth's surface, giving birth to tales of an enigmatic realm. As we transverse through history and myth, we will navigate through whispers of Admiral Byrd's enigmatic observations and the tantalizing mystery surrounding the North Pole. As we delve into the labyrinth depths of the Hollow Earth conspiracy, we'll unveil a realm that defies conventional knowledge. Agartha, the luminous metropolis cloaked beneath our feet, is said to house a civilization that has evolved in ways beyond our comprehension. But is this concept a product of myth and imagination? Or is there something more to the stories? Could Agartha be the stage for humanity's next chapter? Or are these notions too fantastical to be true? Could Admiral Richard Byrd's observations during his expedition to the North Pole align with the images captured by the SS-7 spacecraft in 1968? The enigma surrounding the North Pole's secrecy raises questions about what lies beneath the polar regions and why access is restricted. The Hollow Earth conspiracy beckons us to explore the unknown, to uncover the truth that may forever alter our perception of reality. Our quest today takes us in the labyrinth realm of the Hollow Earth conspiracy, where intrepid theorists have tirelessly sought to unveil the hidden expanse beneath our feet. Agartha, a luminous metropolis or kingdom said to be nestled within the very heart of our planet, is believed to harbor advanced alien species. These enigmatic beings, who once inhabited the surface as humans, are rumored to have undergone a profound evolution during their eons beneath the Earth's crust. Throughout the annals of time, humanity's yearning for the existence of a subterranean world has remained unquenched. Ancient Greek beliefs painted the realm as a somber abode of departed spirits, lending an outwardly aurora to those notions. Yet, the majority of these early concepts were woven with myth and metaphor. Reports of entrances to the fabled Agartha echo across continents. These portals said to include energy wells like the famed Mammoth Cave in Kentucky, the enigmatic Bermuda Triangle, the expanse of the Soviet Union, and the Himalayan mountains guarded by Hindu monks in Tibet, beckoned with tales of concealed wonder. While contemporary scientists delegates the Earth's composition through a tapestry of molten magma and nested crust layers enclosing a core of iron and nickel, there exists a contrarian view, pioneered by luminaries like 18th century mathematician Leonhard Euler and the distinguished Edmund Halley. This once popular perspective proposed a hollow Earth with 3 strata containing a central sun and inhabited expanses. Halley's hypothesis took shape, envisioning a planet encompassed by nested spherical shells, a theory that sought to explain magnetic field readings and gravitational interactions. The vision evolved over time, culminating a vast, imaginable cavern forming the Earth's interior. This perspective introduced a radiant inner sun that fosters life on its surface, challenging convention. Leonhard Euler, a key figure in his narrative, is said to have ignited the concept of a central sun within the Earth, enveloping the inner world with a flourishing environment. The legendary Agartha, as prophesied by French magician Alexandre Saint Vremen de Adahammer, foretells a future where synchrony supplements anarchy, granting humanity access to this concealed realm, often referred to as Shambhala. Agartha is envisioned as an ethereal city residing deep within the Earth's core. Echoes of its presence resonate through time, from ancient texts to the present day. Yet Agartha's mystic extends beyond folklore. Revered as the realm of living gods, the forbidden land, or the land of white waters, Shambhala is a tapestry woven across various cultures. In the tapestry of Hinduism, it emerges as Aryabharta, a realm of high wisdom. As we journey, don't miss our video, The Ancient Civilization That Time Almost Forgot. Delve into the discovery of Great Adria, Atlantis, Lemuria, reshaping our understanding of history. The Hollow Earth theory, despite its curious allure, rests upon foundations both unverifiable and mesmerizing. Tales of concealed civilizations, evolved beings, and untold technologies ripple through these narratives. The prospect of subterranean realms birthing UFOs, coupled with the echoes of Richard Shaver's claim to Agartha, adds to this enigma. Is Agartha a realm of evolutionary marvels concealed beneath our feet? A stage set for humanity's next chapter? Shaver's journey into this shadowy domain is documented through his narrative published in Amazing Stories magazine in 1945. This account unfolded in the wake of a letter Shaver sent to the magazine's editor, Ray Palmer, wherein he unveiled his discovery of the Mantong, or Mantong, an ostensibly hidden language that he asserted underlies all human languages, bearing encoded meanings waiting to be unveiled. Palmer's keen interest in Shaver's claims prompted a series of correspondence, culminating in a detailed letter from Shaver that unraveled his tale of Agartha, a hidden society lurking beneath the Earth's surface. Within this clandestine underworld, Shaver's narrative introduces a chilling presence, the Deros. These malevolent entities residing within subterranean caverns occasionally ascend to the surface with sinister intent. Their nefarious activities include abductions and snatching unsuspecting individuals for cruel experimentation within their lairs. Yet curiously, Palmer deemed Shaver's narrative sufficiently intriguing to be featured in the magazine. It underwent a transformation from Shaver's factual claims into a work of fiction before its publication. The twist of fate further entwined the threads of reality and imagination. The notion that the fabled kingdom of Agartha genuinely exists has garnered endorsements from various explorers and figures around the world, including Admiral Byrd. According to these accounts, the entrance to the kingdom of Agartha, nestled within the earth, may be depicted on a map attributed to cartographer Heinrich C. Barron. The map showcases the Antarctic continent without its icy shroud, revealing an intriguing network of underwater passages that traverse the entire landmass, converging in a singular point believed to mark the entrance to the Hollow Earth. In February 1947, just before embarking on an ambitious expedition spanning 2,750 kilometers over the North Pole, Vice Admiral Byrd made a statement that continues to resonate. "I'd like to see the land beyond the pole. That area beyond the pole is the center of the great enigma." This enigmatic utterance has captured the imaginations of many and fueled discussions about what might lie beyond the polar regions. A compelling claim associated with Vice Admiral Byrd is that during his flight to the North Pole in 1947, he purportedly communicated over the radio that he encountered the vast expanses of land beyond the pole. This land was described as encompassing mountains, forests, vegetation, expansive lakes, winding rivers, and creatures reminiscent of mammoths. This extraordinary account had kindled speculation about the existence of hidden realms and uncharted territories within the Earth. The amalgamation of these accounts, along with Barron's map and Byrd's statements, has fostered an ongoing discourse around the possibility of a concealed world beneath our feet, awaiting exploration and discovery. Back in 1968, the American spacecraft SS-7 captured a series of images that still baffle us today. As it glided over the North Pole, the skies were clear, revealing an astonishing sight. An enormous, puzzling black hole nestled within the polar landscape. This discovery raises a question that echoes loudly. Why hasn't this remarkable find been thoroughly investigated? Interestingly, a shroud of secrecy seems to envelop the North Pole. Strict regulation bar flights over the region, even for research satellites. The official explanation cites gravity, suggesting that weakened gravitational forces at the poles make airborne travel impossible. But skepticism looms. Could this precautions truly be just about gravity? Could it be that Byrd's unsettling observations align with the images SS-7 captured decades later? Does the forbidden airspace above the North Pole house secrets too potent to reveal? The mythology associated with the inner Earth and its enigmatic inhabitants also captured the interest of the Nazi regime. Among the various pursuits, the Nazis held a strong curiosity about the legendary Aryan homeland known as Thule, which some have speculated had an entrance in Antarctica. Although the connection to Thule remains somewhat ambitious, Antarctica also has been linked to the lost continent of Atlantis. It is well documented that the Nazis exhibited a fascination with the occult and esotericism. They reportedly conducted investigations into polar regions with the intention of establishing bases and conducting weapons testing. The rumors surrounding Hitler's potential escape and invasion of capture even extended to speculations about his potential departure to another planet or hidden in the hollow earth, a notion that adds an element of science fiction to the already complex historical narrative. Evidence does suggest that the Nazis were heavily invested in exploring the concept of Agartha, possibly as a potential safe haven for Hitler in dire circumstances. A letter attributed to Karl Unger, a purported member of the German U-boat crew, even claimed that they reached the interior of the Earth and had no intentions of returning. This raises intriguing questions. Could Hitler have escaped to Agartha all those years ago? Have we been misconstrued the conspiracy surrounding the hollow earth, missing crucial connections in the process? The enigma deepens when considering Antarctica's role in these theories. Could it have served as the entry point for such expeditions? Are we yet to piece together the full extent of these theories and their implications? The history of these ideas stretches back over centuries, encompassing a wealth of sources that have explored the notion of a hidden inner Earth. Regardless of personal opinions regarding the Earth's shape, size, or density, it is undeniable there is a vast array of historical and contemporary sources that contribute to the mystique of this concept. In the midst of ongoing global dynamics, the idea of seeking refuge in the depths of the Earth could serve as a potent metaphor or perhaps even a speculative reality. As our understanding of the world evolves, who's to say what uncharted territories and secrets may eventually come to light? And so, the enigma persists, offering a tantalizing blend of history, speculation, and possibly that continues to spark curiosity and intrigue in the minds of many.
Today, many independent researchers have the opportunity to explore Antarctica thanks to modern cartographic applications. They periodically find images from the icy continent of unexplained objects and phenomena. The latest such find was discovered using Google Earth near Heritage Ridge. According to its discoverer, it is a huge base and a crashed aircraft apparently long ago near it. The dimensions of the base, according to its discoverer's calculations, are approximately 1,542 by 853 feet. It is difficult to tell from the images what this base is and what this apparatus is. What is surprising, however, is that after checking, the researcher found that a research station was located nearby, and from there to the mysterious object, a fairly prominent path was beaten. That is, people were constantly walking to it and back. But what are they looking for at this site, and why is there nothing in the press or on the internet about it? If we are to be objective, there are indeed strange traces around this structure, unlike those around it. Apart from that, the fact that the system does not allow us to see the square in which the tracks continue raises further doubt. Dozens of such discoveries have emerged over the years, such as alleged flying saucers located in various parts of Antarctica. The structure that many researchers claim is a much more ancient pyramid than the Egyptian ones. There is no shortage of suspected entrances to underground bases, as well as images of strange structures next to one of the stations. Despite all this, in the end, it seems that the researchers on the ground have a greater advantage than those in front of the computer. However, they are also at extreme risk. Few of you may know, but the first official human foot set foot on the continent was only about 170 years ago, when in 1853, Captain Mercator Cooper docked at the place known today as the Oat Bank. Since then, taming Antarctica has proved an extremely difficult task. In the beginning, entire expeditions disappeared without a trace. Whether they fell victim to the harsh environment or something else happened to them, no one knows. Even today, in this supposedly modern and technologically advanced world, we are witnessing yet another mysterious disappearance on the continent. In early 2024, exploring the Glacier of Doom, the submarine Ran disappears. A team from the University of Gothenburg is conducting the research, and fortunately, the submarine is robotic, so there are no human casualties. However, the mystery is great due to the fact that the submarine itself has hundreds of systems that help precisely in its smooth passage to the point of retrieval. First, the submarine itself follows a pre-studied route. Secondly, an artificial intelligence system reacts to a force majeure situation and seamlessly guides the machine to the point of withdrawal. Third, the vessel is programmed so that even if it loses contact with the base, it will navigate itself to the point of retrieval. This is why the team, when it lost contact with the machine, was almost certain that the vessel would show up at the set point, but it didn't. Researchers sent helicopters and drones to search for the vessel, but to no avail. Study leader Anna Volin says of what happened, "Something strange happened under the Doomsday Glacier that prevented the device from coming back to us." This is not the device's first mission. It has already had one and successfully passed under the glacier, measuring the melting ice caps. In fact, the glacier's real name is Thwaites, but because it can raise global sea levels by several meters if it melts, it gets its colorful nickname. Interestingly, there may be more behind this nickname, and it may actually be as out of place as we don't think. According to American researcher Corey Goode, beneath the Antarctic ice are cryochambers in which sleep the pre-Adamites, a race that existed on Earth before mankind, or aliens who seek to liberate humans from the control of a mysterious secret organization known by various names. Goode himself claims that at the age of 6, he was kidnapped by the US government and taken to Fort Worth Air Force Base in Texas. There, along with 300 others, he underwent special training. After this, he worked for 20 years in the secret space program of the United States, which maintained relations with various alien races. After 20 years of faithful service, Corey's memory was erased and he was released. Goode would never have known what happened to him for 2 decades if his memory had not begun to recover in the form of visions or insights. One of them revealed precisely the existence of cryochambers with ancient humanoid avians under the Antarctic ice. If they were awakened, it would change the course of human history forever. Could it be that some of these chambers lie within the ice of the dreaded vessel, and when it melts, the creatures will be released? For now, we can only speculate on that, but if there is a dose of truth, it would definitely be more than deserved the nickname of the Glacier. In fact, this possibility turns out to be much closer to reality than we thought. The highly respected Bulgarian professor Lachezar Filipov openly states that there are aliens in Antarctica. In this case, we are not talking about some self-proclaimed explorer. Professor Filipov is an astrophysicist and worked at the Institute of Space Research at BAS as deputy director. He was awarded the Tsiolkovsky Prize of the Russian Academy of Sciences, along with Carl Sagan in 1987, for his contributions to space science. According to him, the scientific community treated the topic of alien nations extremely negatively. The professor explicitly stresses that he is a scientist, not an alien finder or a flying saucer hunter. He thinks that there are many of them in the world, but few do science like him. What the professor was involved with at the European Space Agency is no longer called UFOs, but an unidentified space phenomenon. There, analyses and findings are made of materials seen and photographed by telescopes or other scientific objects. Research and analyses are also made of documents about crashed flying saucers. Filipov shares in his interviews some interesting details from the reports. It becomes clear that most of the people who made contact with aliens did so only on a mental level, without speaking. That is, only with their thoughts. Just as in a previous video of ours, we told you that Alex Collier communicated with the Andromedans. According to the professor, the Americans, when they landed on the moon, made just such contact with the aliens. The whole rush to fly to the moon was not to get ahead of the Russians, but to contact another civilization. They were in a hurry because they knew there was somebody there. According to the professor, the aliens also have a base in Antarctica. That is why it was studied by the Germans at the time. And right after World War II, the Americans went to see what was there because objects were constantly taking off and landing in that place. The professor's words are extremely important as to why human civilization is not allowed near extraterrestrials. The reason, according to him, is that humanity wants to take something from them or acquire it, but not to use it for the benefit of the population. All of the alien technology that has been acquired by Americans, for example, is related to their weaponry. This may be one of the reasons to suspend contacts that began in '57, when Eisenhower met with the aliens. Mankind apparently turned these contacts to its own detriment, said the professor in an interview with Bulgaria Today. Unfortunately, Professor Lechezar Filipov is no longer with us on Earth today, but his words remain after him. He thinks that in all likelihood in the next decade, humanity will officially understand that aliens exist and are around us. This is what the press is currently saying. There could be life on Venus, Mars, and other planets. This, according to him, is done to get us used to the fact that we are not the only ones in this universe. The reason is rooted in the fact that religion has been convincing people for over 2,000 years that we are the only intelligent beings and we are the only creation of God. So we are genetically damaged to think that we are the only ones in this universe. We now have the difficult task of understanding that we may see in it forms much more evolved than us. Today, Professor Filipov's words seem to take on even greater weight because we are indeed witnessing unprecedented revelations about the existence of extraterrestrials. As we told you in a previous video of ours, even the US Air Force has released footage of the general public observing an unidentified flying object that the military admits they have not the slightest idea what it is or where it is from. Moreover, Harvard University recently published a study that says it is very likely that aliens are already on Earth among us. Did you know that? If you ask someone which is the hardest place on Earth to reach, chances are they will tell you Antarctica. Located in the southernmost part of the Earth, the icy landmass called Antarctica is a continent in its own right, which is actually the 5th largest in the world by area. It is home to the geographic and magnetic South Pole, which was only visited in the early 20th century. In fact, Antarctica is the last continent on Earth to have ever been inhabited by humans. It is widely believed that until the 19th century, no man had set foot on the continent or even seen it, at least as far as we know for now. Even today, Antarctica remains largely uninhabited and deserted despite its vast area, which is actually larger than that of continental Europe. With the exception of a handful of scientists and staff who reside in the area on a rotational basis, no one lives permanently in Antarctica. Although Antarctica seems like an extremely cold, dull, and desolate place with nothing to see, it is actually quite the opposite. The truth is that it is perhaps the most mysterious and intriguing continent in the world. For beneath the kilometers of ice that cover the entire continent lie many shocking secrets that we are only now beginning to uncover. Some of them could change the world as we know it. Others, perhaps, are better left unknown. Could these secrets actually be the reason that prevents us from traveling freely to Antarctica? And if so, what are they? With a total area of 5.5 million square miles, or 14 million square kilometers, an average ice thickness of about a mile and a bit, or 2 kilometers, and an average temperature of -34 degrees Celsius, or 30 degrees Fahrenheit, Antarctica is the coldest place on Earth. It is not only the coldest but also the driest and windiest. In fact, Antarctica is considered a desert. We usually think of a desert as a vast, sandy place with scorching temperatures and dunes stretching as far as the eye can see. But in reality, deserts are any areas that have little or no rainfall. According to the US Antarctic program, the continent enjoys just 2 inches of rainfall a year. This is very paradoxical, considering that it is where 70% of the Earth's freshwater resources and 90% of the world's ice are located. Having said all of that, you're probably already aware that this is one of the most extreme environments on the planet. Yet some life forms have managed to survive and adapt for millions of years. The continent's flora and fauna have evolved to withstand freezing temperatures, strong winds, and long periods of darkness. Humans, on the other hand, cannot thrive there. Although we can currently survive in extremely cold environments, that is if we only do so for a period of time before hypothermia overtakes us. Hypothermia occurs when our body temperature, which usually hovers around 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 37 degrees Celsius, drops to less than 35 or 95 degrees Fahrenheit. The more it drops, the more fatal it becomes. At a temperature of 24 to 26 degrees Celsius, about 75 to 79 degrees Fahrenheit, death can occur. The lowest temperature ever recorded for a living person is about 13 degrees Celsius or 55 degrees Fahrenheit. People can withstand extreme cold weather, but only for a certain period of time and, of course, the right equipment. The closest city to Antarctica is Ushuaia, Argentina, which is 774 miles or 1,238 kilometers away. Given its remoteness and the lack of resources available on the vast, endless island, the likelihood of death is certainly very, very high. In fact, the first expeditions conducted to Antarctica were not successful. For example, Robert Falcon Scott, one of the first people to set foot on the icy wasteland, died on his second attempt to reach the geographic South Pole. What happened to the first attempt? They had to turn back for lack of supplies. Many subsequent expeditions also failed and took many casualties. In 1965, the Muskeg snowmobile went through a large crevasse. The crack turned out to be a deep crevasse in the ice and swallowed the snowmobile. Everyone in it dies on the spot. One of the saddest and most mysterious stories surrounding Antarctica involves the bones of an unknown Chilean native. In the 1980s, human bones were discovered on one of the shores of the Antarctic Peninsula. They belonged to an unidentified woman from southern Chile, which is 1,000 kilometers or 621 miles from Antarctica. The woman is believed to have died sometime between 1819 and 1825. That is, even before the first expeditions took place. No one can say how it got there. The Drake Passage is an extremely dangerous waterway that lies between South America and Antarctica. Even well-equipped ships pass carefully through this area to avoid accidents. A canoe or boat would capsize before reaching the peninsula. But how did this young 21-year-old woman end up in Antarctica? One theory is that she may have been abducted on a ship. In those days, seal hunters took Chilean natives as guides on their ships, willingly or not. It is possible that, for whatever reason, she was left on the beaches of Antarctica. We don't know if she was alive or already dead when this happened. If you go to Antarctica, you will see monuments that depict the places where people died. Not all of the dead have such plaques, however, because some are lost forever in the endless stretches of ice that cover the lonely continent. Antarctica is a continent and technically also a country in its own right. But whose country is it? No one's. Since Antarctica has no indigenous population and no country has jurisdiction over it, the entire continent is literally no man's land. But people are people, and that has in no way stopped many countries from claiming Antarctica. When it became clear that countries were vying to claim parts of the continent, a treaty was made. After the International Geophysical Year in 1959, 12 countries signed the Atlantic Treaty. According to the agreement, no military activities were to take place in Antarctica. Furthermore, activities on this land must be limited to non-military scientific research only. Subsequently, Antarctica was declared a nature reserve in which mineral extraction was strictly prohibited in accordance with the Madrid Protocol of 1991. Today, 57 countries are part of the Atlantic Treaty System. After all, can you visit Antarctica yourself if you choose? It might surprise you, but in fact, yes, you can visit it. There are 2 ways you can get there. First, by becoming part of the research group of a country that has a base in Antarctica. Obviously, this is not so easy, so the only other option you have is just to go there. However, that's not exactly how you probably imagined it either. First, you'll need to apply for and be granted permission to visit the continent and travel insurance. How can you get a permit? That seems to have been thought of too. The easiest way to do it is to contact one of the cruise operators who has special permission to arrange trips to certain parts of Antarctica. Trips are limited to the Antarctic Peninsula and surrounding areas. That is, you go on a well-controlled trip and see what you need to see. But realistically, in any case, no one is stopping you from going to Antarctica. Sound easy? But it's not. Because if you want to go to Antarctica after all, you need to prepare a good amount of money for it. For cruise ships, expect to spend an average of $6,000 to $15,000 or more. That's just for a budget ticket. This price does not include accommodation, flight to the departure point, and other essentials. In addition, you may have to pay a separate fee for the permit and insurance for the trip. But let's not forget that we are talking about visiting a specific area by the authorities and nothing more. If you want to go elsewhere on your own, you are not allowed. Yes, it's no man's land you're not allowed to set foot on anyway. It's like going on a trip to a huge island as big as all of Europe and being allowed to see only its beach. Interesting, isn't it? Could the reason lie in the seemingly unbelievable theories about this most mysterious of continents that may turn out to be true? Many people believe that Antarctica's hostile environment and remote location are not the only reasons why most of us will never set foot there. Ever since the ancient Hellenes theorized that there was a land to the south called Terra Australis, people have been speculating about what might lie in the vast unknown continent. But because people today believe that Antarctica is not what it is presented to us to be, that beneath its pristine mask and otherworldly environment, it hides many secrets that governments around the world try to cover up. Let's take a look at some of these supposed secrets. A theory states that Antarctica is actually a wall that surrounds the Earth, not a landmass, but a literal wall. This theory is part of the flat Earth beliefs and states that Antarctica is a wall of ice that keeps the oceans from spilling over. It's not clear in what exactly, probably in the middle of nowhere. If Antarctica really is a wall, what lies beyond it? Strange creatures, dragons, fantasy lands? We don't know yet. According to another theory, there is a hole somewhere in Antarctica that leads to Agartha, or the inner Earth. For the uninitiated, the hollow Earth theory holds that our planet is not dense. Instead, within our world lies another, where everything from prehistoric animals like dinosaurs to fantastical creatures unknown to us humans live. This theory has been around since the early 19th century. In fact, the supposed portal exists not only in Antarctica, but also on the opposite side of the Earth, in the Arctic. Believers insist that the poles hold the key to the entrance to this lost inner world. Detailed videos on this topic can be found on our channel. The third theory is related in some way to the previous one, in the sense that some proponents of the previous theory believe that no dinosaurs or humans of advanced civilization can be found in or under Antarctica. The Nazis hid there instead. Within this theory, there are two main beliefs. The first is that the Nazis escaped to the inner Earth through a portal in the Arctic Sea or Antarctica and took up residence there. Second, during their heyday, the Nazis were able to establish bases in Antarctica. You may be surprised, but there is a certain amount of truth in this. During World War II, Germany claimed an area in Antarctica and called it New Swabia. When Germany was defeated in 1945, it lost its claim to the area. However, there are rumors that secret German underground bases still exist on the continent today. So far, none have been officially discovered and announced to the public. Another supposed inhabitant of Antarctica, and thus of the hollow Earth, are aliens. Proponents of this theory claim that aliens are the reason the government is adamant when it comes to allowing humans on the continent. There are also claims of UFO sightings in the area. Again, this is just a theory for now. Is there a suggestion that some prehistoric animals still exist in some of those countless and endless frozen lakes in Antarctica? Worse still, could they actually not be of this world at all? Again, nothing like that has yet been found. The next theory we've discovered is that Antarctica was once a land where an advanced civilization existed. Some even believe it was Atlantis itself. The reason for this is that the continent was once a land of lush vegetation and diverse fauna. Millions of years ago, however, it froze over. The main consensus is that Antarctica has drifted too far south due to continental drift. Long ago, it was part of the supercontinent Gondwana, but when it broke apart, Antarctica drifted away and froze. Scientists have found countless evidences of its green past, but there is still no evidence of an advanced civilization. According to leading scientists, this is also impossible, given that Antarctica was frozen even before humans appeared. But what if it wasn't? The evidence that people are pointing to in opposition to scientists is an aerial photo of what looks like a pyramid. But were there really pyramids? Scientists insist that these are natural formations. To be precise, they were at the top of Mount, but none of us can go and check on the spot naturally. Actually visiting a certain part of Antarctica is actually possible. Well, you would need a lot of money and patience, but it is practically possible. For the interior of the continent, things are not exactly the same.